Hello, my amazing soul buddies. You're welcome back again to this YouTube channel. It's Whitney IY here, and if this is your first time here, you're highly welcome. Please do well to click on the subscribe button and also hit on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. So in this video, we'll be making this elegant stylish top that has this asymmetric split ends at the hem, and also it has a near built up asymmetric neckline and also this particular type of funnel sleeves. And also note that this is the last video for the making of this particular top. Yes, this video had to be grouped into two because it was quite long, so I'll drop the link to the first video on the description box so you can go ahead and watch it and then come back here and continue from where we'll stop. So without much boring talks, let's dive right in. In the previous video, we stopped at drafting the built up neckline for the back pattern, so that's where we're going to begin from. So you go ahead and mark out your 45-degree like this, and then you're going to go ahead and connect it to the neck width like so. Now after connecting it to the neck width, remember from the neck width I went up by 1 inch. That's what I did for the front, so that's what I'm also doing for the back. I went up by 1 inch, and I'll bring in my rule like this and just connect it straight down. I'll just rule a straight line down from the 1 inch like this to the center back. Now once this is done, the next step is to go ahead and come down by ½ an inch from this straight line on the center back like this. So from the straight line I came down by ½ an inch. The reason for coming down by ½ an inch is so that I don't have any inconveniences on my center back when I'm putting on this top. So I'll connect the ½ an inch back to the built up neckline at the neck width like this to give me that nice curve. So this makes the built up neckline to relaxes at my center back on my neck. So the next step right now is to go ahead and come down from the waist at the side by 3.5 inch. Remember, that's what we also did on the front pattern, the sides of the front pattern. So you repeat the same thing on your back pattern. So I also came out by 1 inch, and I'll connect this straight back to the waistline like this. So whatever you did on your sides, for your front pattern, you get to do the same thing on your sides for your back pattern. So I'll go ahead and also come down by 3.5 inches here on the center back side like this, and I'll go ahead and connect like this, connect from the side to the center back like so, as you can see. So that flare has to be at the side only. Remember, if you don't want the flare, no problem. That is, if you don't want that little A shape on the side, no problem. You can ignore coming out by 1 inch from the side, you get. But for me, I want the A shape. The reason I came out by 1 inch on the side and I connected it back to the waist. So if there's any part that confuses you, let me know. I'll try as much as possible to respond to you. So right now I want this back hem to have this beautiful curve. That's what I want for the back hem. Yeah, so this is what I have. So right now my back pattern is completed. So for the darts, I would also want to extend the dart out like this by coming out by ½ an inch like so on both sides of the dart line, or you come out by 0.25 on both sides of the dart legs. It's still the same thing. So it's just like repeating the dart intake that is on the waist. I'm repeating it on this hem. I hope you understand. So I'll go ahead and just connect it straight down like this, so giving me a straight dart, no longer a cone kind of shape. So I'll go ahead and reshaping this with I lighten this out with my colorful crayon like this. And now that I've done this, I'll bring in my scissors and cut. But before bringing in my scissors, I will have to blend up this neckline here. That is the built up neckline to the shoulder. I will have to blend it to remove any form of sharp edges at this point like this. So right now it's time to cut. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So please watch closely how I cut out this pattern. Please watch. And looking at this, you can see that I did not cut open the dart on the back pattern. That's how I do my things most times. So I'll show you how to close it up on your fabric. So for the allowances, I'll be leaving 1 inch on the center back here when cutting it out on fabric. I'll be leaving half an inch on the neckline here. I'll be leaving half an inch on the shoulder, half an inch on the armhole, 1 inch for the seam allowance, and half an inch at the hem. So right now I'll go ahead and place my patterns on my fabrics and cut them out. So right now this is the back pattern, and you can see the fabric was placed on fold. That is, I folded the fabric into two to cut it out, and as you can see the ST is already ironed to this fabric, is ironed on this fabric. And for the front pattern, which I did the cutting off camera, I didn't get to place the fabric on fold. Yes, you just leave the fabric open and place your pattern on the right side of the fabric, and then you go ahead and cut. You get, because the front pattern obviously is the full piece, it's not on fold, so you don't need to fold your fabric into two. So this is what I'm talking about, as you can see. And I've also cut out lining for both the front and the back pattern. So this is the lining and the main fabric for the front pattern, and as you can see the allowances I left all round. That is what I'm talking about. So you can see I also use my chalk to indicate this important point here, which I've snipped. As you can see, I gave it little snips. Even the waistline, I gave it little snip as well. So I'll go ahead and take out the linings and leave the main fabric. I'll take out the lining. So for the main fabric, you can see I've ironed my ST on it. So that was what I was explaining on the first video of this. So right now it's time to start putting all of this together. So the first step is to go ahead and gather this point like this, starting from the first slash line, which I indicated that you should just snip a little. You go ahead and just do some gathers like this, and when sewing it, the right side of piece 1 should also be facing the right side of piece 2 like this, to run your stitches like this, and make sure that the two split ends, they meet at that point that you gave little snip. I hope you do understand. So I'll go ahead and do this, and I'll come back and show you what I have done. So for the back pattern, you go ahead and also take out the lining. So I'm taking out the lining. And as you can see, I've also ironed ST on the main fabric as well. So after taking out the lining, the next step is to snip the waistline little, give it little snips, and also these dart legs you would want to snip little on your fabric. Just give it a little snip, cuts that are not up to 0.25 inch, little cuts, just to indicate and make it easier for me when closing up the darts on the back pattern. So right now I'll go ahead and take out the linings as well. As you can see, I'll take out the lining, and then this is what I have when I open up the back pattern. And at this point it's time to close up the dart. So in doing that, I would need the pattern paper to be my guide. So you already know that I snipped the fabric at the hem just to tell me where the dart line is, where my dart is. So it's just for me to measure the length of my dart on my pattern paper, and then I mark it out on my fabric, and then go ahead and close it up. And take note that whatever I'm doing to the main fabric, I'm also doing it to the lining. So this is the front pattern. As you can see, I've closed up the piece 1 and the piece 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over to the wrong side so you see how I did my gathers. So I'll flip this over to the wrong side. Now on the wrong side, you can see what we have here. So from these split ends where they meet, I did a straight stitch to the first slash line, and from the first slash line I started doing the gathers. I started gathering it, and then on the last slash line that is around the bust point, I stopped doing the gathers and I continued with the straight stitch. So this is what we have. Next step is to ease out these seams, and to do that you go ahead and notch the seam. You notch it, and when notching it, make sure it doesn't get to the stitches. Yes, so you don't cut open the stitches. So you notch all through, and then you go ahead and press it open. But most times what I get to do is I just cut off the excess seam. I just get to cut it off like this, but I'll just leave about 0.25 inch before the stitch. I'll leave fabric 0.25 inch before the stitch, then I cut out the remaining part. Or you can just notch and then press open the seams with your iron. So that is how you relax this. Then on the front, I also went ahead to iron the gathers. Normally you don't iron gathers, but for this particular top design, I ironed the gathers because I wanted it relaxed. But if you choose not to want to iron yours, no problem. So this is the back pattern as well, and as you can see, I have closed up the darts using the pattern paper as my guide. So I've closed up the darts, and I also went ahead to iron. So whatever I'm doing to the main fabric, take note that I'm also doing the exact same thing to the fabric. So this is the front pattern. So right now it's time to join the front pattern and the back pattern together. So as I'm joining the main fabric together, I'm also joining the lining together. I've repeated this several times. So this is the back pattern, and in placing it, I'll make sure that the right sides are facing each other, and I'll go ahead and close up the shoulders using the 1/2 inch sewing allowance that I left at the shoulder. So this is the other piece of my back pattern, and I'm placing it like this, making sure that the shoulders also align like so, and I'll go ahead and also close it up using 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and I'll also close up the sides. So that's what I'll go ahead and do. And this is it, guys. I have closed up the shoulders, I have closed up the sides, as you can see. So I'll go ahead and iron this. It is very important you iron after every stitch. It gives you a more professional look, a more professional work, and a neater work. So right now it's time to sew in the zip to the center back. So I'll go ahead and open up the center back. So I'm just going to show you how I sew in my zip. So remember, I left 1 inch at the center back for the zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 1 inch at the center back. So in marking it, I'm going to mark 1 inch from the center back like this. So this is the 1 inch I left when cutting out this back pattern for the zipper allowance. So that's what I'm marking out. So it is on this 1 inch that I'll get to sew in my zip. I hope I'm making sense. So that's what I am marking out right now, like this. So after marking it out, I'll just go ahead and open up my zip like this. So I'll open up the zip, and when I'm placing the zip on the center back, I will make sure that the teeth of the zip is facing the side, and the right side of the zip should be facing the right side of the fabric. So please take note, the right side of the zip should be facing the right side of the fabric, and the teeth of the zip should be facing the sides. That's the side of your body, the side of your fabric, the side of your pattern. I hope you understand. Yes, the sides in my hand. So, and I'll also repeat the same thing on the other center back. And please take note that you need to come up by 1/2 inch. I came up by 1/2 inch from the hem because I need to leave that 1/2 inch for hemming allowance to close up the hem. So you come up by 1/2 inch before you start, sewing in the zip. So I'll go ahead and do that. And once I'm done with sewing my zip, I'll come back and show you guys. So guys, this is what I have. I have installed the zip on my main fabric. As you can see, I've installed the zip. So right now it's time for me to bring in the lining that I have joined together as well. So this is the lining. So you also make sure you iron the lining. So the exact same thing you did to your main fabric, you're going to repeat the same thing on your lining. So you go ahead and place the lining, making sure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the main fabric. So you go ahead and place it carefully like this. So once I'm done placing it like this, I'll go ahead and close up the shoulders and close up the neckline like so, using 1/2 inch allowance. That is the 1/2 inch allowance I left when cutting out these fabrics. So after doing that, I'll also top stitch, and once I'm done top stitching the neckline and closing up the necklines, I will close up the hem as well like this, using 1/2 inch allowance that I also left at the hem. I hope all of this makes sense. Then I'll go ahead and close up the center back using this 1 inch allowance, which I've already run a stitch on. So it's just like I'm running a double stitch on that previous stitch. I'm running another stitch on the previous stitch. So I'm just going to show you what it means to notch your fabric and top stitch. So I've done the top stitching on the neckline. I've closed up the neckline, and at the hem you can see I've also closed it up using 1/2 inch. So this is what I mean by notching. So first, before you top stitch, you get to notch like this. So this notching ease out your stitch. It makes your stitch to, you know, relax. So you go ahead and do this, but make sure you are very careful so you don't cut open your stitch. Your notching should not get to your stitch. It should stop at 0.25 inch before your stitch. Then in top stitching, you're going to go ahead and open up your lining and your make fabric, and make sure that this seam here comes towards the side of the lining like this. Then once you put this on the side of the lining, you run a stitch on your lining. You get 0.25 inch from the journey. You run a stitch, a straight stitch on it. So that's how you top stitch. That's what is referred to as top stitch. And top stitching is also very good. So once I top stitch, I went ahead to also close up the center back by just going ahead and just running another stitch on the previous stitch. So right now I'll go ahead and turn it to the right side using through the armhole. So as you can see, I turned it to the right side using the armhole, and I'll carefully push out all the points. Now if I'm unable to push out all the points with my hands, I'll go ahead and bring in sharp object like the scissors, you know, to pull this out, to push this out, or a pencil or a barrel, just to, you know, push all the sharp points out on this top. So that's what I'm talking about. So I'll go ahead and also do that and give this a very, very, very good press. So this is the wrong side, and you can see this is the right side. So when you get to zip, this is what you have. So in buying zip, make sure you buy that type of zip that gets to open up fully, that you can just, you know, open it up fully. It's best you buy that type of zip when making tops like this. So that's the type of zip I'm making use of. As you can see, the zip that you can open fully. So right now, just go ahead and give this a very good press. I'll give this top a very good press after pushing out all the pointing parts, all the pointed points. At this point, it's time for me to draft out the sleeve, and the very first time is for me to come down by 1 inch from the beginning of the pattern paper like this to get the top line or the starting line. So I'll come down by 1 inch from the beginning of the pattern paper like so, and I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. After doing this, the next step is to calculate for the cap's height. Now, to calculate for the cap's height, you divide your round bust measurement by 12 plus 1 inch. So my round bust measurement is 41 divided by 12 plus 1 inch gives me 4.41. And from the top line, I will mark out 4.41 like this. So this is my cap height line. So I'll mark out 4.41, and I'll bring in my rule to connect this to get a straight line like this. So this is the cap height line. Next, I'll go ahead and mark out. So initially I wanted to mark out my elbow length, but I just decided to ignore it. But when you're drafting yours, please make sure you mark out your elbow length. That is from your shoulder to your elbow. You measure it out and you mark it out. So for me, I just went straight to, and after marking out your elbow length, you mark out your sleeve length. That is how long your normal long sleeve is, how long your normal long sleeve is. So for me, it is 22 inches, and that is what I've marked out. That is my normal long sleeve. Yes, it is 22 inches. So after measuring from my shoulder to my wrist, I went ahead to measure from my shoulder to this point of my fingers. You get to this point of my hands, I don't know. So I measured it, and then it was 26 inches for me. So that's what I'll go ahead and, you know, mark out 26 inches like this. So you go ahead and measure from your shoulder to around your fingers, the point you want, where you want your sleeve to stop. But make sure you measure from your shoulder to your elbow and mark it out. Then from your shoulder to your wrist, you mark it out. Then from your shoulder to around your fingers, you also mark it out. So it's very important. Please ignore the fact that I didn't get to mark it out. I later did. So please mark it out. Next, on your cap height, you divide your round bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5 and mark it out. So for me, it is 8.3 and I've marked it out. So I'll connect this to this point of the top line to give me that form of triangular shape. like this. And then I'll go ahead and get the midpoint of this line that I just marked out. So I'll place my tape like this, and I'll go ahead and fold it over like this to get the midpoint, or whatever you get, you divide it by 2. So after getting the midpoint, I will also go ahead and, mark it out on the line like this. Then from this midpoint, I'll go up by 1/2 inch like this. From the midpoint here, I'll go up by 1/2 inch. So I'll bring in my French curve or my curve rule to, give it that sleeve curve. So if you don't have a curve rule to do any of this, you can use your ends to actually draw all of this curve. Just make sure you get a perfect curve or a near perfect curve. So I'll go ahead and curve like this. So this is just me trying to get the perfect sleeve cap curve. So this is it. So then on the sleeve length, that is from the shoulder to the wrist, on this line, I'll go ahead and measure around my wrist, and whatever I get, I'll mark it out. So around my wrist it's 8 inches, so making it 4 inches, and that is what I'm marking out. That is after dividing 8 inches by 2. So I'll connect this straight to the cap height like this. So on your elbow length, once you mark out your elbow line, you measure round your bicep or around your elbow, and whatever you get, you divide it by 2 and mark it out. So next, you measure round where you want the sleeve to stop on your fingers like this. You measure it round. So for me, it is 10 inches. So 10 divided by 2 gives me 5 inches. So that's what I'm going to mark out on this last line. So I'll mark out 5 inches on the last line like this. And when taking your measurements around your fingers, make sure it's not too tight. Yes, 10 inches is the measurement for most individuals you get. Make sure it's not too tight. You can even make it wider than that. It depends on what you want. So I've marked out 5 inches and I've connected it to the wrist, as you can see. So at this point, I decided, okay, I want the hem of this sleeve to have a bit of curve. So this is what I want. So you can decide what you want for your sleeve hem. Yes, you can decide. For me, this is just what I want for this sleeve hem. So this is the curve that I want. So right now, I'll go ahead and cut out this pattern. So I'll go ahead and cut this out like this. I'll cut. Once I'm done cutting it out, for the allowance, this side of the sleeve will be on fold. Here, I'll leave 1/2 inch. Here, at the side here, I'm going to leave 1/2 inch. And at the sleeve cap, I'll also leave 1/2 inch here when cutting it out on fabric. So I'll go ahead and cut out 2 because you need 2 sleeves. Yeah, one on the right side, one on the left side. So that's what I've cut out. And as you can see, the allowance 1/2 inch here. At this point, I'll take out the pattern paper because it's time to hem the sleeve hem. It's time to stitch the sleeve hem. So I'm going to just show you what I did with one of the sleeve. So right now, I'll bring in my bias. Yes, I'm making use of a bias for closing the hem. So I'll turn the sleeve to the right side, and then I'll go ahead and stitch on the 1/2 inch hemming allowance at the sleeve hem like this. I'll stitch the bias down to the right side of it. Then I'll turn it over to the wrong side like this, as you can see. So you can either run a stitch to stitch it down at the wrong side or use your hemming gum to hold it in place. And once I've done that, I'll go ahead and bring in the sleeves and join them to the top. So in joining to the top, you have to get the midpoint of your sleeve cap. So I'll go ahead and fold my sleeve into 2 and notch the center of it like this at the sleeve cap. And then in joining it, I'll make sure that the right side of the sleeve is facing the right side of the top, and I'll make sure that the midpoint of the sleeve matches with the midpoint of the shoulder, and I'll go ahead and close up the armholes using the 1/2 inch allowance. And after closing up the armholes, I'll also go ahead and close up the side seam of the sleeve. So once I get to do that, I'll come back and show you guys. So at this point, I have sewn in the sleeves, as you can see. So this is the hem of the sleeve. I don't know if you can see this. I made use of the Amy gum to hold it down, and I've closed up the side seam of the sleeve, and I've also joined it on the armholes. So right now I'll turn it to flip it over to the right side like this. I'll flip it over to the right side. So this is what I have. So at this point I'll go ahead and iron this out so it gives, you know, a more neater look. And if this video was helpful to you and you also enjoyed it as well, please do well to give this video a thumbs up, and do not forget to hit on the subscribe button. So at this point I was contemplating if I should also design this point using, if I should embellish this point with crystal beads, if I should embellish this curve style line with crystal beads, and also embellish the hem of the sleeve with crystal beads. But then I just decided to, okay, let me chill this out. So guys, this is the outcome of it, and you can see how beautiful it is looking. Yes, you can see how beautiful the curve style line is looking, how beautiful this top is looking. So if you don't want to make use of a colorful crepe like this, you can make use of your plain crepe. Just choose the color you want. Yes, so guys, this is it. You can also make use of a stretchy fabric, yes, but probably you won't get to use the stay, and you won't be needing zip because it's very stretchy. If the fabric is very stretchy, I don't think you need zip. So guys, this is what I have. So guys, we've come towards the end of this video, of this particular tutorial. So see you on my other videos. So guys, I love ya. Ciao.